Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Louise Robbins, and I would like to introduce Christina Gomez Schmidt, running for the Madison Metropolitan School Board Seat 6. As we begin, I'd like you to give an opening statement outlining the educational, vocational, and civic experience that qualifies you for this position, and tell us why you're running for the Madison School Board.
Thank you, Louise. It's nice to be here with you today. And thank you to the League of Women Voters of Dane County and the Madison City Channel for this opportunity. I see this as a critical year for the Madison Public Schools. I believe I'm the candidate with the extensive experience with policies, plans, and practices at the school level and at the district level that will allow me to immediately get to work on making positive change at the district level and at the school level. I grew up in a working class neighborhood on the north side of Minneapolis, and education and community engagement have been at the heart of all that I've done. Early in my career, I worked at Centro de la Comunidad Unida in Milwaukee, a community center, teaching a life skills curriculum in the Milwaukee Public Schools. Recently, I worked with Simpson Street Free Press on an evaluation of their programs. In between, I've worked for nonprofits, universities, and in the Madison Public Schools. Currently, I'm the Director of Enrichment at Gallon Education, where I develop and manage after-school and summer enrichment courses for middle school and high school students. In the coming months, the board will need to tackle big issues and make key decisions. Disparities exist in many areas in our school district, and we must be able to determine and focus on what's working to effectively close gaps. We'll be welcoming a new superintendent, potentially 2 referenda on the voting ballot in November, and a lot of big decisions to make. I'm honored to have received the endorsements for my campaign from school board member Kate Taves, former board members James Howard, Marge Passman, Ed Hughes, Dean Loomis, and Paul Dvorak, Sheriff Dave Mahoney, Fitchburg Alder Julia Arata-Frata, and Dane County Treasurer Adam Gallagher, and a growing list of community members from across the city of Madison. 2020 will be an important year that will determine the trajectory of our Madison Public Schools going forward, and I'm ready to get to work as a member of the Madison School Board.
What are the first 2 issues you will encourage the new superintendent to tackle, and why? What skills will you bring to the table to assist him?
Well, my focus in becoming a board member and working with a new superintendent is to take action on equity issues, to approve a new K-5 reading curriculum and examine our methods for teaching reading at the early grades and as students progress through our schools, supporting teachers and staff and promoting student success by figuring out what to scale up, how to scale up what's working, and how to stop doing what's not working in our schools. Building trust with families and the community is another important issue. Improving accountability and transparency both at the district level and the school level, and passing a responsible budget, an effective budget that provides the resources that are needed to improve academic outcomes.
Despite a small amount of improvement, Black students and students with disabilities remained overrepresented among those suspended during the first semester of the 2019-2020 school year. Why do you think improvement in this area is so slow, and what would you advocate as a board member when it comes to suspending students?
I think that the behavior education plan that the district passed a number of years ago had a very important goal of reducing suspensions and expulsions for students of color and students with disabilities. I think the implementation of that in the schools has been challenging. And when you have a plan or practices that are built on and dependent on building relationships with students, using restorative justice practices, that requires time and resources in order to implement effectively at the building level. And so I think we really need to focus on what schools need in order to do that and be successful with students. I think another important thing is making sure that we have stable leadership at the building level. We've had a lot of turnover, especially in our middle schools, of our principal positions, and also with our staff. And so we need to make sure that we are attracting and retaining excellent teachers and excellent principals, and that we are keeping them in our school district to maintain relationships with our families and with our students to move the work that we need to do forward.
Wisconsin has the widest achievement gap between black and white students of any state in the United States, according to the assessment known as the nation's report card. The state superintendent has said that the achievement gap is a crisis and closing it is imperative for our state. What could Madison schools be doing better when it comes to closing racial achievement gaps, and what, if anything, are they doing wrong?
Just to put this in context, the achievement gap doesn't start and end at the school door. So disparities in society, in the workforce, in access to affordable housing, in the criminal justice system, and in access to health care, they all contribute to disparities in education. And as a school board member, I'll work with community partners, nonprofits, elected leaders, advocacy organizations, faith communities, and others to be part of that broader change on a societal level. In our schools, we must address disparities by ensuring that we're using curriculum and instructional methods that are shown to accelerate student learning. Reading skills are the foundation of learning, and we must focus on a new K-5 reading curriculum and the methods that we're using for teaching reading. All the teaching that we do at all grade levels should be culturally responsive, rigorous, and engaging in ways that make learning accessible and relevant to students at all levels. We must hire and retain more teachers of color. We must partner with organizations that provide opportunities to support academic learning after school and during the summer. And so I'd say to closing gaps, there's no one easy answer or one solution that is going to have an effect on this. Whatever we do will have to be multifaceted in its approach and work with a lot of stakeholders to make sure that we are actually making progress in this area.
How can the district do a better job of recruiting and retaining teachers of color?
I think we need to work with the educators and teachers of color here who are already here in our school district and really listen to them, to hear what they need to feel like they are an included and large part of our school communities. And we need to listen and figure out what strategies they suggest for attracting and retaining more educators of color. I think that's really important. Our Grow Your Own programs, I think, are important. We have a Team Scholars program that looks to identify students in our own school system who are interested in becoming teachers. We would like those students to have a chance to prepare themselves and follow their passion for teaching and stay in our Madison schools once they complete their education.
Given the timing of the referenda, you will have to start the school year with an uncertain budget. In constructing that budget, which may require $5 to $8 million in cuts, what will you cut? What will you protect?
And cuts are always difficult to discuss. We need to maintain staffing levels that support the work that's being done in our schools with students. I would look for efficiencies at central office and try to keep cuts as far away from the classroom as possible. But when we're talking about millions of dollars in cuts, schools will be affected in some way. I think it's important and we need to protect schools having the resources that they need, including adequate staffing, and not only for classroom teachers, but for support staff. I think that's really important. On a broader scale, I'll advocate for adequate funding for our schools and for our district at the state level, and engage the community through partnerships that leverage the expertise and resources to support learning and support our schools.
If you are elected, what will you do to engage and connect with the variety of community members you represent?
The school board and school board members do represent the broader community, including stakeholders that are, students, families, teachers, administrators, and really needing one of the jobs is to gather key input from all those constituents in order to make sure that we are making decisions that reflect the interests and the needs of the community. And so I think it's really important to be that feedback mechanism And I think it's important to take the responsibility of getting assigned to different schools, elementary, middle school, and high schools, and really visit those schools to find out how those schools are functioning.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
I would like to say that I just see this as a really important year for the Madison schools. While campaigning across the city, I'm hearing that people are concerned about our schools, our students, and our staff, and how we move forward in figuring that out, how to more effectively meet the needs and support our teachers, our students, and address disparities. I also hear overwhelming support for school resource officers in the high schools. That hasn't been talked about a lot yet. I support the SROs in our high schools. Multiple serious situations have been safely resolved by SROs in just the last 2 months. And their role to build relationships with students and staff is important for de-escalating conflict and quickly responding to situations within the schools. In short, they have a necessary function at that time, and I wish we didn't need them. Many people have also asked me why I'm running, and I can't think of a more important thing to be doing with my time right now than investing in the future of our schools and our students. And I have a deep passion for understanding how our schools work and the issues they face. I'm passionate about working collaboratively to make change happen. I'm committed to improving transparency and accountability, and I'm dedicated to engaging the community to support our Madison schools. I want to bring my skills and experience to the Board of Education to make our schools better, to improve education outcomes for all students, and to engage the community in support for our public schools. I'm ready to lead and eager to get to work on the board, and I would be honored to receive the votes from the Madison community on April 7th.
I want to thank Christina Gomez Schmidt for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking time to know your candidates. Please vote in the April 7th election and in every election. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.